And that's why it's good to have you back, man. What's going on, everybody? This is the Cover Band Confidential Podcast, the podcast for cover band musicians and band leaders to learn how to rock more and suck less. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Dan Ray.
So how was it?
Super good. Super good. We'll unpack a lot of things about it, I think, as we go through the talk today. But yeah, it was fun. I don't know if you've ever had, and I'm not sure I even told you or the listeners this part, but it was a solo trip. I was on my own. And that's amazing. That is amazing. You don't have to negotiate lunch plans with anybody. You can just do what you want. Oh, God, it was so good. So good. I can only say that to you guys because if I say that in the presence of my family, I am immediately encountered with, open insurrection. But yeah, but it was great. And there was a good reason why we were doing it like that. And we'll get into that a little bit later.
Let's see. Not a lot going on here. We've got some gig prep going on. We didn't talk about this beforehand, but having a conversation with our keyboard player about potentially bankrolling an upgrade to her setup. She was having some issues with her main keyboard and was looking for something that was like a bit more robust as far as like piano, like closer to like an 88 key or maybe like a 61 or something that is
weighted.
Well, it's got piano sound so that she's got like a piano bass with like accent on this second deal. So we've been back and forth trying to figure out what to land on. The sky's the limit on what you could spend. A Nord stage would be the perfect solution, but it's also $4,000. Mm-hmm. So if you are a keyboard player who listens to the show and you have a good suggestion for not a like bargain, but like a competent mid-tier foundation keyboard model, whatever, let me know. I did have somebody reach out and say that the Vox Continental is kind of a good kind of mid-tier option. I looked into that. It looked, pretty solid, but I don't know what I don't know. This is out of my wheelhouse. So if you have any expertise, I will gladly take it from you.
There was a meme on the Patreon Slack about non-guitarists sort of cooling their heels for the first half or so of every episode.
Yeah.
And, now's your moment. If you're a keyboardist and that's been your experience, yeah, jump in here.
We had talked about potentially doing a software solution using something like MainStage. If you've got any thoughts about that, I am all ears. I'm in a systems mindset right now. We've got some prep work to do ahead of this Stranger Things block party in a couple of weeks. And so we're just kind of like, we're trying to get in the room to practice and just get things sorted. And I mean, I could theoretically give her this Donner keyboard that's got, it's got a fully weighted key bed. It's 88 keys. It's not the prettiest or shiniest, but it does do USB, MIDI, and that kind of thing. So, that one cost me $399.
That's right.
Which would be nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move into reviews. Now, this isn't technically a review. This is more of a follow-up of the episode that you missed. But it's a good one. So this comes from Greg. He asked a question about efficiency around practicing. What types of things should I focus on in order to get the best results? Saying, when he's working on like improvisational stuff, he feels like he plays much better during the improvisational part. Maybe he's not as creative if he's focusing on the song structure and stuff, right? Okay. And so we ended up asking a bunch of additional questions. And I was like, I bet you right after this airs, he'll reach out to us and give us some clarification. And that's what he just did.
Perfect.
So Greg says, Adam, thanks so much for addressing my practice question on this week's show. You and Matt nailed it and went deeper than I expected, but now realize I need that deep analysis. From your conversation, I came to the following conclusions. I agree that the improv stuff represents 5% or less of the gig. There are probably 5 people at the gig that care what I do during an improv jam, and 3 of them are on stage. That's a great way to put that. Yeah. The improv stuff is what I care about the most. When I nail my solos, I feel good about my playing. When I feel good about my playing, I am a better overall performer, and it positively impacts the show, which is something we did say that if there is a component about this that where you as a player feel confident, that will read from the stage. Yes. So it is a part of that process. So finally, one point that I knew deep down but didn't want to admit it is that everything in life is about balance. So I need to balance time for practicing songs, technique, music theory, expectations during a gig, gear testing, tone setting, on and on and on. Oh yeah, my family and my actual job.
Right.
Thanks again for taking the question and the plug for our band Cellar Dogs, the best cover band in the Philly suburbs. That's a twofer.
Oh, number one cover band in the Philly suburbs.
And he lucked out because he had another show on last week. So he actually got that recommendation from 2 different podcasts. Pretty tremendous. So shout out to Greg. Thanks for following up. Yeah, that was a fun conversation. We were able to really kind of get in the weeds a bit in the best kind of way. So moving along, we've got just a scotch of housekeeping. We are like within, I think, 10 subs of hitting 6,000 subscribers on the YouTubes. Let me just check that real quick. This is as of Tuesday the 6th at 9:15 Eastern.
Monday.
Sorry, Monday the 6th at 9:15 Eastern. 5,996 subs. So maybe this is like by the time
4 subs away.
Yeah, we might already be there by the time you hear this.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Anytime, we hit these benchmarks, we're excited about it. The next thing that we're hitting is episode 400. And that is right around the corner.
It is, and our friend Mike Schulte has some ideas.
He does.
That I like for what we ought to do for that. He may very well be our guest for that and be the special MC of our 400th episode.
Well, if you have any other ideas on what you would like us to cover or, want to send us something for the 400th episode, coverbandconfidential@gmail.com. Send it our way.
Look, we're not above reading, your praise and adoration.
Yes. If you would like to come and glad hand us, we will absolutely.
Certainly read
yeah,
it.
for sure.
100%. Yeah.
For sure. Exciting stuff on the horizon, stuff to look forward to. And that kind of dovetails into this week's main topic.
Yeah.
And listen, not every, last week we did about an hour of a conversation. Who knows where this one's going? But sometimes you get in, you get out. We'll just have to see how this goes. So this is one of those philosophical conversations that, will parlay itself into creative and businessy things. But this week, I want to talk about the concept of taking big swings.
Yep.
In your experience or in your realm of expertise, what is a big swing? What could that look like?
Well, I mean, one thing that crosses my mind when you say that is the last gig I had before my foot surgery, which was the coming out of my 80s brand. And it was a whole new kind of music. It was a whole new set of technologies. It was to tracks for the first time with this. Most of the players in this group. It was costumes, and it was a whole other thing. And the way that it was set up was fairly low stakes in reality. But I had thrown my hat over the wall, and I had said, I'm gonna get that hat back, and whatever it takes to get over the wall, I'm gonna do it. And I did it, and that was pretty great. It was pretty great. Whether that parlays into any kind of future gig about this, hard to see from here, but it certainly showed me what can happen when you like Babe Ruth, you point over the fence and say, I'm hitting it over there. And then you do what it takes to do that.
Yeah, I feel like there's been a lot of times where, we've kind of looked at a situation and gone, well, are we gonna go for it? A good example of that kind of on the early, front end of the band forming is, are we gonna buy this PA and run our own sound and start into this realm of work? That was a big swing financially. That, ultimately paid off and has paid itself, 10 times over at this point.
Right.
But it was something where we were at a crossroads. Like, do we go this? Do we play it safe, or do we take a risk and see where it leads us? And I find that as you get older, some of these things get simultaneously easier and simultaneously harder to kind of exercise, because as you kind of grow more secure in who you are as a person, the things that might hold you back as far as like how it is portrayed externally probably factor a bit less.
That's definitely true.
In your decision making.
Definitely true.
So, if you did take a big swing and put yourself out there, the pressure or the risk of, it affecting your social life is a much larger concern, as you're a younger person. Whereas now, it doesn't really matter.
Couldn't agree more.
On the flip side, while you don't have as much to lose socially, there are other things that you do have to consider. Your job situation, your family situation, all of those things. So you have to couch those risks.
Yeah, there's more to balance, but I think you trust yourself to know yourself as able to get through failure more reliably the older you get. And that certainly has been my experience. And I've, been more willing to take big risks as I've gotten further along in my career and my life. That's definitely been my experience.
Yeah. And I feel the same way. I think for people in this particular lane, it takes me back to this interview that I heard with Bruce Springsteen, where he's like, we didn't necessarily work harder than anybody. We just never stopped. So by the end of this, everybody else had been scared away and we were the ones left standing, and ergo we got to, move to the next thing.
Look, and it's not unlike how you and I committed to, by God, putting out an episode every week. And we've done that. We've never missed a week. And I think our audience appreciates that. I don't know. There's probably a segment of the audience that maybe is hearing for the first time that we committed to that and realizing that maybe now as we say that we've not missed a week, but we haven't, and we both have lives and travel and vacations and stuff that comes up, and we've worked it out. But something about the reliability of that, something about the commitment to that has started to build some momentum that wouldn't have happened if it was like, oh, guys, we'll be off for the next 3 weeks. Right. I don't know. I think our dedication to the reliability of it is a little unique for us. I prefer that to how I was starting that previous sentence. And it's really paid off. I think it's really paid off. And so that's kind of a lesson. It's a lesson for me. If you just stick with it, just keep working it. Even if not every episode's a winner, you listen to our first ones, they sounded terrible. Our production values were absolutely abysmal. But we were there and we cared and we were doing it and we were committed to it. And I think that's a big piece of taking a risk, is the willingness to see it through. Yep.
And of course, the reward of getting to 400 podcast episodes is you get to make 400 more.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
If you're lucky.
The reward for good work is more work. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So if it seems like we've been kind of pussyfooting around like what it is we're trying to get to, it's because we kind of are. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off.
We've both had things that we've had going on that we weren't ready to talk about quite yet, but I think we're there. I think we're both ready to talk about our things.
These are things that some folks in the Patreon may have found out about, but some of these things are just they've been going on in the background. They're on the pre show. We're we're not even recording, So I guess I'll go first because I've got two of them.
Cool.
We'll start with the one that I've been sitting on the longest. So this story starts, 5 years ago on TikTok. I made this video about the music industry and how being in a band wasn't a viable business model in the music industry, not the entertainment industry, which is what we are a part of. Right. And it was the first thing that I ever did that blew up on that platform. And, with that, you get a bunch of attention. And one of the people who commented and stayed invested in that conversation was singer-songwriter Edwin McCain of, I'll Be and Could Not Ask for More and a lot of other songs that helped guys of my generation woo a lady or two.
For sure.
Anyway, over the course of the past 5 years, our paths have crossed virtually quite a few times. You know, he'll comment on my videos, I'll comment on his. One time I was live streaming a solo acoustic gig, and I was playing ILB, and he showed up in the live stream when it was happening, which was, nice. Again, not nerve-wracking at all.
Right.
But, like, the thing about Edwin McCain that's funny is that, like, he loves just, like, commenting on random people's videos and just, like, watching them go just kind of... I've seen him do it hundreds of times at this point, and this story specifically is from a creator in Kentucky who owns like a candy store, a fudge shop. I think his name is That Fudge Guy, I think is what his handle on TikTok. And kind of got into this thing where he built up a following and was monetizing his posts. And he's like, I don't really need this money. What can I do to, take this and put it to a good cause? And he decided he would pay off school lunches for the kids in Kentucky, which is the noblest cause I can think of.
Yeah, I love that.
I won't delve into how I feel about that concept on its face. Anywho, so he starts posting and this is the mission that he's on, and he makes it very clear that, that's where this money is going. And one day he's like, I've decided I'm going to throw a celebrity 3K to help raise more money in Lexington, Kentucky. The only problem is I don't have any celebrities. Who do you suggest? It was just, it's a good way to draw a bunch of engagement out of that post.
Totally.
And so every TikTok celebrity, every blue check, whoever, got tagged in this post, including Edwin McCain. And so Edwin posts, what are we doing? And then when the original creator sees that, he makes a reaction video like, hey, Edwin McCain just said this in my comments. And I did the same thing the first time he did it on my post. And like I said, I've seen this a bunch of times. And so I just leave a comment and I say, honestly, I feel like he does this for the lulz most of the time. And then I just went on with my life, didn't think about it. A day or two goes by and I get an alert that says, Edwin McCain responded to your comment. I was like, oh, okay. So I tap on it. And just remember, the initial comment was, I think he just does this for the lulz. Edwin says, nope. And now you've just volunteered to play with me at this show. And I was like, huh? What? The way it was worded it was kind of confusing. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And then I get another alert that says, Edwin McCain has sent you a direct message. So I tap on it, and it's like, hey, we're aiming for this date and this month. Here's my cell phone. And at this point, I don't know. This could be a very elaborate prank to steal my identity, for all I know. But I text the number, say, hey, this is who I am. This is why I'm texting you. What are the details? Let's talk. And I don't hear for a couple of days. And that's one of those things that you have to be cognizant of, is that if you do end up with somebody important's cell phone, you have to...
You got to be cool. You
can't be not cool. If you want to get any more of those kinds of phone numbers, you have to be cool.
Yeah, no, this is the thing. Be cool and don't not be cool. Yeah.
So I let it sit for at least 48 hours. Because, again, this to me, it could all be a prank. And if it is, whatever. So
yeah, kudos, really, frankly. It's well done. If so.
2 or 3 days go by and it's like, hey, just, throwing it out there that whatever you land on, I'm there. It would be an honor, da-da-da-da. And then I get a response and he says, you are such a dork. You're being way too nice. And then throws me some details. So what was initially just me leaving an offhanded smartass comment on a TikTok turned into me playing a gig with Edwin McCain. Oh. So the initial date was supposed to be 2 weeks from this coming Sunday. It has been postponed, so it's still kind of up in the air. And I had asked Edwin, when I initially confirmed this, I was like, is it cool if I talk about this? Up to a certain point, yes. However far we got into the story, up to that point, yes, it's cool to talk about. So I have been sitting on this, and I think I told maybe you and Mike within the first week or so after it had happened.
Yes.
But yeah, I've just been sitting on that I'm supposed to play. Like, I don't know what instrument I'm playing. I don't know what songs we're doing. I don't like, I know nothing. But it was just like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Why would I not do that?
Why would you not?
Is it terrifying? Yes. Is it, exciting? Absolutely. Could it, be an unmitigated disaster? 100%. But I still have to do it.
You do.
There's no way I couldn't not do it.
Listen, just as a content creator, you have to.
So it's just, the internet's crazy. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And that's number one of the crazy things that I've got coming up. Do you want to do yours, or do you want me to do both of mine?
No, I'll do mine, and then we'll go back to your second one.
Go for it.
So, I don't know how much I've talked about this on the pod, but my day gig is in real estate tech. So I've worked for multiple listing services. I've worked for companies that make software for multiple listing services. Somewhere in the belly of the beast of most real estate tech software, there is something that is pulling data from a multiple listing service. It's pulling the listings. It's making a big database and then doing stuff with it. The stuff you do with it is the product.
Yes.
So collecting big data, doing things with big data has sort of always been in my ethos as a software engineer, as a product manager, all of that. A few years ago, I was going to Disney World, and I just wondered if there were any APIs out there that Disney made available. I don't know what, but look. So I Googled around some, and I found a thing from themeparks.wiki that is the posted wait times, attraction statuses, up and down status, and a few other things from all Disney parks worldwide, plus Universal, plus a bunch of other things. Globally, like international parks and things like that. And I wrote a little script that was just every 5 minutes polling that thing and just saving the state of the attractions posted wait times to a database. Didn't really know why. It was just a thing I did. Because polling for new data and saving data is just, it just was interesting. I built an interface on that showed you in a pretty efficient way, more efficient, I think, than the app that Disney makes, shows you the current state of the things. In the park you're in, here are the wait times. There you go. I also made a way to subscribe to SMS text messages to update you about the wait time changes, the attractions going up and down, so that you're sort of informed as you're walking around the park. Tron just went down or whatever. And I sent you to the parks with a fairly early prototype of this, and it was useful.
Absolutely.
You found it useful. And
it was able to give you some specific feedback of the things that I liked and the things that maybe could work better. And, it did exactly what I needed it to do when I needed it done.
Yeah. Now, there is a guy who is in my industry, the real estate tech industry, who is as big a Disney nerd as me and well known for that in the industry. He does his job from Orlando a fair amount of the time. And I sent him with the prototype of it. And he came back and said, wow, I really think you got something here. And how can I help? That was about 6 months ago. The last 6 months, evenings and weekends, I have been iterating on this thing and turned it into something that I think is pretty complete and pretty solid. And I actually came up with a name for it in the middle of the night. I sat up in bed with this name. The skip the line feature at Disney is called Lightning Lanes. I came up with the name Lightning Brain. And the marketing line is, we plan while you play. And it does a lot of cool things. And a big part of why I was there last week was to test it out. We had a family vacation planned for that week. And then kid had a stomach bug or something. Missed a couple of days of school in like the second week of school. And we looked at this week, which is like the fifth week of school, and felt like taking her out for the whole week was a bad idea. And so the family bailed, but I went because I needed to test this thing out. And the reality is it did the thing. I mean, it's got a lot of features that are about keeping you informed of good line deals, short lines, just shorter than usual lines, and things that are on the path you've already established of the lightning lanes you've booked. I walked into Hollywood Studios at Rope Drop, and by 5:40, I was done. I had done the whole park. I had done 2 shows, every attraction, every ride, and 2 shows by 5:40, and in a very clean clockwise path around the park. Pretty amazing. And so that really proved the case of it. There are a lot of things that I need to come back and deal with and fix and optimize, and the way that the GPS location tracking works was not ideal, so I'm working on that right now. Anyway, this friend of mine from the industry is now a co-founder of mine in this company. We started a company, Mouse Tech Studios LLC, which is a week old. Tomorrow, I'm going to meet the banker and start the bank account for it. But it's a going thing. It's a business, and it's not something that I anticipated ever really doing. I started collecting this data just kind of for fun to see what would be interesting. We're not talking about like, look, I can use the data that I've collected to optimize your plan to visit the parks for certain days in the future, because I've now have several years of data. And that's something that Disney travel planners, Disney, certified folks who talk to people about their plans, they work pretty hard to understand the best days to visit different parks. I can automate all of that between, AI, LLM generation and the data that I've captured and all that stuff. Like I can just kind of say into the AI, here's the people, here's how many of them there are, here's the ages of them, how old their kids are, what kind of bookings they already have, and give me a perfect travel plan for them. And I can produce that. So it's a kind of a whole new business that I might find myself in. It may take off, it may not, but it's interesting and fun. Yeah. And so, yeah, Lightning Brain, it'll be in the App Store probably around the first of the year is really when we're looking at having it really ready and live and it'll be iOS first. Yeah. Android will come later. Anyway, it's a pretty cool thing, and it's a big swing that I never really pictured I would take, but I did on this trip turn my 4-day park hopper ticket into an annual pass. So I'm now an annual pass holder because I will need to go back there to try these things out, and it's all tax deductible at this point because it's a business expense. So there you go.
Very cool. It's been fun to watch it grow. I've been privy to basically every iteration up to this point, the marketing and all the bugs and all the fun things.
Yep. I have 3 co-founders. So Tim, the guy that I talked about, is he's been CEO of lots of things over the last dozen or so years. So basically, I'm using him as a running a business person. I have an accountant guy who is our CFO, and he is managing the money and managing the sort of business setup stuff. And then a marketing person who is in at 5% ownership, who is so another whole thing we're talking about is on Disney cruises, there's this whole thing about gift exchanges, and she runs the biggest Facebook group for people who participate in that. And so she was a good connection for that kind of thing. So that's the team. And it'd be exciting to see what happens, if anything. I don't know. Yeah.
But it was just one of those things that you were just like, hey, this is this could be something. I don't know if it could be. Yeah. It's just like anything else. It's you announcing that you're doing an 80s night.
That's right.
I mean, it took time, effort, and money to get that off the ground.
Yes.
The thing that we always land on is that we are doing a business podcast. This show is mostly about leadership and like marketing strategies. It just happens to be, skinned in, the work that we do on the weekends. But ultimately, like all of these concepts are universal. That's why I wrote the book that I did, the band system, is basically a entrepreneurial creative strategy book from the angle of a DIY musician. Because it's basically all these things are, it's that kind of book from the perspective of a Navy SEAL. This kind of book from the perspective of a former prisoner. It's the same concepts, just like from a different angle. But yeah, my thesis was, if you have ever run your own band, you are an entrepreneur. Like you've learned those things.
Sure.
And that the concepts, apply across the board. But let's switch back to more fanciful things.
Yes.
So the second thing that just kind of presented itself is I'm auditioning to be the lead singer for Skid Row. If you had asked me this a week ago, I would have been like, huh? So this has been a very short development. It started with a friend of mine and former bandmate who reaches out to me for creative stuff all the time. I do all of his editing and that kind of stuff. He's like, hey, I need voice lessons. I was like, dude, I do not have time to give you voice lessons. That is not something that I have time to offer. And he's like, well, I'm doing this audition for Skid Row, and I just need to work on these two things. And so I made a video. I was like, hey, these are the things that I do. These are the things I think will help you. But he's like, if you don't audition for this, I'm going to kill you. And I was like, okay. So as you may or may not know, my friend Rob, who we interviewed on the show about a year or so ago, is Skid Row's drummer. And so I just texted him. I was like, hey, you guys still taking inquiries? And he's like, yep. And so I got an email from their management team with all of the things I need to do, which includes recording 4 of their songs. And yeah, so that's going to happen this week, I guess. Okay. And then we'll just see.
We'll just see. Are you going to do it are you going to post them?
I don't know. It depends on if they're any good.
Fair enough.
I mean, ultimately, like, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. Like it's more important to capture what is actually coming out of my mouth than making sure it sounds perfect, which usually means just, gripping and ripping and not really thinking through stuff as much as I typically do. And that's basically the ethos of this entire operation. I'm not thinking through this too much. I'm just like, okay, we'll see. Could be something, could be nothing. It's probably nothing. But, at this point, at 44, the fact that I'm even in consideration for something like this is pretty wild.
Yes.
So why wouldn't I try?
Exactly.
And it honestly is the fact that at this point, the prospect of somebody saying no to me doesn't bother me.
Right.
If an opportunity like that had presented itself 20 years ago,
you would have cared so
I would have cared all the muches.
Oh.
How much would I have cared?
Oh, entirely much.
So the fact that I've had that time to, I don't know, settle into who I am, I can genuinely look at this as kind of this could be cool. And nothing else, no expectations, no nothing. And I mean, as a creator, every time something weird pops up, I'm like, well, I gotta do it, because we got to fill an hour's worth of something this week.
Every week.
So if something bananas is within proximity, I probably need to see it through. So that's what I'm doing. I've got an as of now unannounced date with Edwin McCain, and an audition with Skid Row potentially.
Nice. And I have a potentially $1 billion app.
Who knows? This is the moment where 6 weeks from now, Dan comes out hey, I'm calling in Rich. I don't need this. I don't need you.
That's very unlikely, but yeah. Who knows? Maybe.
Or I could be hey, I can't be here next week because
I'm calling in Skid Row.
Because I'm in Skid Row.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Both equally as likely.
Yeah.
And then maybe one day we can meet on our yachts.
Perfect.
Yours with your Disney app money, and mine with
off the coast of Orlando.
On my Skid Row money.
That's right.
I'm not sure what that is, but I'm sure it's okay. Pretty good.
Pretty decent.
Pretty
Skid Row
okay.
Money, yeah. Gotta think.
So, if this has taught you anything, it's probably taught you nothing, and for that I am mostly sorry. But the thing that I ultimately want to convey to every single person who listens to this is swing big. And it doesn't matter what swinging big looks like for you. If it's, hey, I think I want to four-wall my band's event and sell tickets and do all of the back end so that we could potentially make a windfall of money and change our perception in the market. It can mean we're going to try a concept night where we do a tribute to a specific band or a specific album. We've never done that before. Or it could look like being the next singer of Skid Row.
Who knows?
Who knows? But you won't know unless you do it. Right. So do it. That's it. That's the show.
There you go. Perfect.
I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders to a degree.
Me too.
I've been sitting on this stuff has been.
Me too.
Has been difficult to say the least.
I talked to my boss in my day gig about this. She knows the other person in the industry very well. So to say that like this isn't going to impact my work, except for this new relationship with somebody that I have a different kind of relationship with now. And she asked a bunch of questions, and at the end of the conversation, she said, "Well, look, when you're looking for investment, think of me." Okay, I will. I don't know if we ever will be, but okay.
But people, you're already at the point where people are willing to like consider giving you money. Like, that's a win in itself.
There for sure is like the tech play that's just about collecting that and then cashing out. So it's not really our gig, but it's a thing.
The Disney bubble.
Yes.
Well, awesome, man. Our lives could be very different.
Who knows?
Or, we could do this for another 400 episodes.
Well, here's the thing. If we don't take the swing, for sure we'll be doing this for another 400 episodes. So, and that would not be bad. I'm not against it. I've loved the last 400
If that's
episodes.
the worst thing that could happen out of the situation, I'll take it.
100%. Yeah. And, the swing can only be up from there.
That's right. And how many swings will we have been able to make between now and then?
Who even knows?
Unbelievable. Unfathomable. The possibilities. Indeed. And it's just nice to think big and optimistically right now,
it is. Yeah.
So do that. Make your dreams. Do it big. Do your dreams. Your dreams are when you fall asleep. And when you wake up, you can make your dreams your reality.
Sleep your dreams.
Folks, thanks so much for tuning in. Couldn't do it without you. Wouldn't want to. Used to, but not anymore, baby.
That's right. We got you now.
Haha. If you like Sports Show, you can do any of these things, but I'll go ahead and call it for this week. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
In Greensboro, North Carolina, I am Dan Ray.
You've been listening to the Cover Band Confidential podcast for the week of October 10th, 2025.